Right, ladies and gentlemen, well, I'd like to get started here. Let's get you onto the screen so that you can see me. Tonight is a great night. It's actually the first time that we're holding a webinar on South African property here in South Africa. We've got a number of people online. Before I get started, I'd just like to introduce you. I've got a number of my colleagues online. I've got Dylan, I've got Tambi, and I've also got Kennedy. And I've also got my business partner, Brad Allen. Brad will be helping you with actually answering many of your questions. So if you want to send any questions through, he'll be able to type back to you and answer them. Brad, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, if you can hear me.
Excellent. We got you loud and clearly. Brad, just with regards to what we're going to do tonight and for all of the rest of you, we're basically going to look at the South African market. We're going to try and understand exactly what's happening in the world economic environment. We're going to try and look at the impact that that's having on the South African market. And then we've got a new opportunity that's launching in the next 48 hours. And we're going to focus on that opportunity and what that actually means to you as an investor and how you can actually get involved. So without further ado, I want to get started. Let's get into that presentation and we can start looking at answering some of those questions. So basically, understanding the South African property market and this opportunity of Kelvin Manor. Are you looking to own a home or are you looking to invest on Sandton's doorstep? Before we get started, a little bit of admin issue. Basically, just so that you understand how it's aware, I know it's a very new technology here in South Africa and a lot of people are still trying to understand how it works. But basically, bottom line is you can see the blue screen here in terms of the actual presentations, and then on the right-hand side, you've got your sort of online manual, and you can actually click on it and ask questions, and you can also raise your hand. And as I said to you, Brad, my business partner, will be able to attend to you and actually be able to answer any of the questions that you've got. He'll either be able to type, and then at the end, if we haven't answered the questions, we'll be able to have a question and answer session. So let's get right into it. I basically want to get started. What do you want to achieve out of this evening? Is it information on the South African market? Do you want to understand the opportunity at Kelvin? Are you looking to buy a home? Are you looking to find an investment opportunity? Or is it something else? Now, I always like to get people involved early on. This will get you interested. So please, the poll is out. Let us know, what is it you're looking for this evening? Help us understand how we can help you. So we've got a number of people looking at information on the South African market. We've got people looking at finding an investment opportunity. A number of people wanting to understand Kelvin. Some people wanting to buy a home. So there's actually a good split of everyone. Let's just give it a little bit more time so that everyone has the opportunity to fill it in. I think we're pretty much there. So let's send out that poll basically. Let's close that poll. Let's show you those results. So that basically just shows you what it is that everyone is looking for this evening. Gives me a very good idea. 80% of people want information on South Africa. 60% of people are interested in the opportunity in Kelvin. 10% are looking to buy a home. And 60% are looking to find an investment opportunity. So that's great. That's very interesting, basically. Right, in terms of, let's moving on. I think the most important thing when one actually tries to understand what is going on in the property market is you really need to do all the research. And you know, it's with a tremendous amount of reading and understanding. And to give you an idea, this is basically what I've been going through today. You've got the FNB Property Barometer, you've got the ABSA Housing Review. These have both come out in the last 48 hours. You've got all the details from Money Morning, Kees Bruggemans, and numerous articles from Property 24, from Ian Fife. There's even an article today in the Business Day, which I thought was very interesting. So what I've done is I've spent the last couple of days getting up to date with the latest information. And what I'm basically going to give you is an overview of what that is and what it means to you. So let's start off basically with what is actually happening in the world economy. Now, very interestingly, in the world economy, the last 3 months, or the second quarter of 2009, has had a dramatic turnaround from what we've seen for the first 3 months of this year. Recently, in the last couple of days, we've had great results from Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. We've seen a lively recovery in Asia, particularly Singapore and China. The USA recession, recently they've come out and said that they see it lasting only another 6 months. But also that only 10% of the stimulus package has actually had its impact, and most of it will actually come in 2010. The US industrial activity is expected to come roaring back and in the third quarter of 2009, imitating what's happened in Asia, and Europe is expected to be slower behind that. The banks, particularly in the US, still have problems with credit cards and commercial real estate, and this is because it's the after effects of the recession, and they see that actually going on for certainly the foreseeable future and certainly in the next 12 months. In terms of the world economy, the stock markets have been rebounding, the banking spreads have improved, the industrial and the export recoveries are in process. The central banks are in cruise control at the moment. They've made their massive changes and now they're monitoring the situation. The emerging economies have stopped dropping their interest rates, and overall the global economy has entered a recovery from around mid-2009, and it was actually earlier in Asia. What does this all mean to the South African economy? Well, something that's very interesting is that if you break down the South African economy and from both an economic and political point of view, firstly you've got the internal ramifications and then you've got the external ramifications. From an internal perspective, basically from a political perspective, the 22nd of April was a very big day. Most people expected the ANC to win the elections, but there was a choice as to whether they were going to win it by the 2/3 majority. And the second variable was whether the DA was going to win the Western Cape. Now, as you know, both of those things actually, well, happened, as in the ANC didn't win the majority and the DA did win the Western Cape. The great thing is that it all went out very peacefully, and it brought a tremendous amount of confidence back into South Africa and a lot of certainty, certainly from a political point of view. Then what's happened is Zuma's come into power, and you know, Jill Marcus has recently been appointed head of the Reserve Bank and basically got rid of, or Tito Mboweni is leaving. Now, you know, you've got to give Zuma a tremendous amount of credit. Very few people would have been able to achieve both COSATU and the business community coming out in full support of this move. And that day, it was actually announced on the Monday, the South African Stock Exchange rose by 232 basis points. It was a fantastic increase, and the rand really, really strengthened. So Zuma is starting to really, lead the country, and from a confidence point of view, people are starting to settle down, and certainly they're seeing that, many of the good things of the past are going to continue. The biggest challenge we have is service delivery, and as we've seen with the recent strikes, people are determined to start getting the service delivery. They're tired of waiting and the excuses, and it's the biggest agenda for the ANC government to make sure that they deliver in the next 5 years. In terms of the external, we've had the worst economic decline, and we basically believe that in 2009 our GDP is going to decrease by in the region of 1.5% to 2%. In fact, on the radio tonight, they actually said 1.9 to 2%. That's the worst it's been since 1992, and this is after a rise of 3.1% in 2008. Our budget deficit is now 6% of the GDP in comparison with a positive 1% in early 2008. However, South Africa has been more resilient, and that is supported by the Asian growth and the fact that we are specifically a commodities-based country, and that, with that Asian growth, we really need to export and to send out materials. The other thing that's very important is that the government embarked, actually prior to the global economic situation, a 400 billion rand investment in infrastructure, and that has only been going for the last 12 to 18 months and is then in place for the next 10 years. And then lastly, in terms of interest rates from the end of last year, December, were around 15.5%, and they've come down to 11%. That's 450 basis points, or 4.5%, and it's basically meant that the man in the street is got 23.8% more money in their pocket, because their mortgage and other car financing, etc., has come down. And that has had a huge impact in terms of, but the most important thing is that takes time to work its way through the economy, and it's believed that it's at least another 6 months away from fully being transpired within the economy. The second thing is with regards to the South African economy, the Fitch Rating Agency, and this was the article that I was speaking about in the Business Day today, came out today saying that South Africa is weathering the global recession and the credit crunch quite well, and it remains us at a BBB+. Now that's good for foreign investment, and certainly with regards to what's going on. We've obviously got this big deal with regards to MTN and the cell phone deal, and a lot of people are waiting to see what happens with that. Moody's has also come out and upgraded the rand to A3 from a BAA, and that is also good for international investors. So generally, from a South African perspective, looking at the forward-looking indices in the second quarter of 2009, the equity prices are increasing, the SARB leading index is increasing, the FNB BER consumer index, and the Kagiso PMI. All the leading indicators actually turned the corner in the second quarter of 2009. Something else that's very important is the South African GDP growth in 2010 is expected to be in the region of 2.3%. Now this is in comparison when one takes the IMF or the International Monetary Fund. Next year, for the rest of the world, you're looking at America at 0%, the Eurozone at minus 0.4%, Japan at 0.5%, the UK at minus 0.4%, Canada at 1.2%, and the Asian economies at 0.8%. So you can see that South Africa is actually ahead of many, many other countries around the world. What does this all mean to property? Well, you know, when one looks at it, basically, it's quite interesting. In America, the property market there started to decline in the mid-2006. They currently have 6,000 vacant homes on the market, with a further 200,000 more coming on because of house builders. There's a 60% decrease in new housing starts, and it's now at a 50-year low. This year, they believe that around 400,000 homes will be absorbed into the market, but the market will only become stable when the supply and demand is in kilter. And there's talk that the U.S. housing market will only recover around 2011. One of the big reasons for this is that even though property prices have come down, with the unemployment situation in the UK, and it's still lagging and is still continuing to rise, that is causing then obviously the repossession of houses and the houses being taken back by the banks. And that is why that some pundits talk about it recovering in the middle of 2010, but most are saying that it's certainly one's looking in early 2011. So what you've really got a problem in America is a big oversupply of property in comparison to demand. In the UK, it's completely the other way around. The credit crunch, mortgages are actually down by 80% over the last 12 to 18 months. Certainly in terms of first-time homeowners loans, you know, I read a recent statistic in June that 2 years ago there were 3,000 different ways of borrowing money as a first-time homeowner. There's now only 104. And even though the interest rates have dropped from 5.5% to 0.25%, you're still borrowing at pretty much the same interest rate. But the big thing in the UK is that the fundamentals are in place. There's still demand still completely outweighs supply, but they basically, the people, especially the first-time homeowners and people that want to buy property, are really battling to get access to credit. And that is one of the most important things that one needs to take into account. When one compares that to South Africa, those two indices that I was speaking about, the ABSA Housing Index, which has just come out, literally got it this morning from Duran Prince from ABSA Bank, thank you very much. Basically, the nominal increase in prices was 3.7% in 2008. The nominal in 2009 is minus 3.5%, and the real is 10%. And just so that you understand, the nominal is the actual increase or decrease, and the real takes into account inflation. The one thing that's interesting is that they say affordability has improved, but that most households can't take advantage. So even though house prices have come down slightly, and also that interest rates have come down, there are people that want to buy property, but most households can't take advantage. They see an improvement in early 2010. They believe the nominal increase in 2010 will be 2%, and the real increase will be minus 3.8%. And that's across the entire market in South Africa. The FNB index had some very interesting statistics. Basically, they said that 14% of buyers in the second quarter are first-time buyers. The buy-to-let market is only bringing around 11% of buyers. And then a very interesting one was why people were selling. And 34% of sales are actually coming about as because of people downscaling. And immigration is now only as low as 8%. It's taking people roughly 21 weeks and 1 day to actually sell their property. And another very interesting thing was that there's been a large increase in people from other African countries buying into South African property. Then when one looks at the fundamentals of South Africa, there's basically 12 to 13 million homes in South Africa. Of those, 5 to 6 million are actually bankable stocks, so properties that you can actually get a mortgage on. In South Africa, 60,000 units roughly are built per year, of which 40,000 are affordable units. And we're only building in the region of 200,000, we need in the region of 200,000 homes a year to keep up with the demand. So there has been a slowdown in terms of the property price growth, and that's mainly because of interest rates rising by 5% since mid-2006, as well as the NCA, and then obviously at the back end of last year, the global economy. But interestingly enough, building activity has dropped dramatically, and this is because of the affordability, it's because interest rates were rising, it's because of building prices going up and land prices going up. And most importantly now, developers are actually coming back and really battling to bring products to the market because of the economic circumstances. And even though prices have been going up, they haven't been able to get the end user price, and therefore from a supply side, they're not coming to the market. That's also added with the complications of supply side constraints, municipal planning, bulk services, and electricity, which have really hampered bringing new property to the market. In terms of South Africa, the interest rates and the global economy have actually caused a disruption with regards to growth. Now, for the last sort of decade, South African property has really been recovering and taking into account that it basically remained completely stagnant for over 20 years during the apartheid era. And what was happening was that the South African market was recovering in terms of real terms, and there's been a disruption to that growth. But it's believed that it's a short-term disruption because the fundamentals are in place. The demand is increasing from the middle class. 2.6 million black diamonds or black families have joined the middle class in the last 15 years, and this has grown by 30% in the last 12 months alone. And there's some very interesting statistics, and I don't have enough time tonight, in terms of where they're actually moving and how they're now choosing to move. Over 30% of them are choosing to move into the older, more established suburbs. For the last 24 months, we've had interest rates growth, and inflation actually has peaked. And they're now looking, inflation got as high as over 13%. They want to keep our inflation between 3 to 6%. It's currently in the region of 8%, and they believe by next year, the middle of next year, we'll be back to inflation of around 6%. Because of that, they actually believe that our interest rate is going to be stable at 11% for the rest of this year and for the most of 2010. In 2011, they're expecting it to actually increase because of the inflationary factors of what's happening around the world to around 13%. And then in from 2011 to 2012, they're expecting to stay at around that rate. But Kees Broekemans does say that it really depends on a number of external factors, and it's very difficult to make long-term predictions based on the external factors which are out of South Africa's control. The other thing that's very, very important is what is going to happen over the next 10 years. China is going to dominate the global expansion, and commodity exporters will benefit greatly, of which South Africa is obviously one. It's going to ease our balance of payments constraint, and the growth annually for the next 10 years is going to average at about 3.5%. Our real GDP will expand in the region of 40 to 50%, and there'll be an increase in our population from 48 million to roughly 50 million, a gain of somewhere in the region of 30 to 40% per capita. Our formal employment is going to increase from 9.5 million today to roughly 12 million. And our informal employment is going to roughly increase from 4.5 million today to some 6 million. Now what this means is that the ranks of the middle and working classes are set to expand further and if not even dramatically. South Africa is currently about 50% urbanized, but another 10 million people can be expected to urbanize in this next coming decade. And this is also on the back of great infrastructure. The Soccer World Cup has had a huge impact with regards to catalysts, building soccer stadiums, building new airports. The new airport in Durban is looking fantastic. The car train is being built. All the highways around Johannesburg, it's all part of this 400 billion that is being spent on infrastructure. And I think the important thing is that it's not only transport, it's improving our electricity supply buffer, modernizing and expanding our road networks, our ports and our airports. And what this is going to allow is South Africa to really expand and for our economy to grow on the back of it. So what does it all mean for the next 10 years? There's going to be a huge national income gains. There's going to be big expansion of the middle and working classes. There's going to be regional urban concentration, and there's going to be greatly expanded infrastructure. And what this all basically means is that we can expect huge gains, even compared with the recent gains in the last decade. And this is a recent report that I got from the FNB economist Kees Bruggemans. And it's really, really interesting to understand, because you now need to take that into account and what that actually means to South African property. Most importantly, affordable property that's targeting the middle to working classes, and even more importantly, the property that's in those urban areas that's going to benefit from where the people can find their work, and also from that expanded infrastructure. So the second major reason that I think you need to be looking at this opportunity that we're looking at now, the first one is South Africa. The second one is Sandton. And what is actually happening in Sandton? And where does Sandton actually come from? Well, firstly, interestingly enough, Sandton is the combination of two suburbs, Sandown and Bryanston. It used to be an old sort of farming community with big houses on big estates with horses. But over the last 20 years, it's turned into the financial hub of South Africa. And it's now the wealthiest square mile in Africa. Arguably, it's the financial hub of Africa. Many of the companies have moved their headquarters there. 3 of the 4 major banks, Investec has moved there, MTN, South African breweries, and even the Johannesburg Stock Exchange has moved to Sandton. Now the JSE is one of the biggest stock exchanges in the world, and certainly the biggest stock exchange in Africa, and they're all centered dead in the heart of the Sandton CBD. Now what is the Gautrain actually going to do? Well, the Gautrain is changing the face of Sandton. Billions of rands have been earmarked for new office, retail and hotel developments near the station, with a great spin-off for existing and new residential developments. Lusaka Investments continue to invest billions, and they say the financial downturn does not faze them, as they have great faith in the South African emerging economy and in Sandton as the financial capital of Africa. There's huge demand for residential accommodation, and the Gautrain is fueling this demand. Now let's look at this Gautrain and how it's actually going to work. You can see here, here's a map. So here you've actually got OR Tambo International Airport, basically Johannesburg Airport. Here you've got Sandton. Here you've got Rosebank, and here you've got Park Station, which is the Johannesburg CBD. Now you can see actually that it's effectively three legs to it, because the third leg goes all the way up to Pretoria Station and Hatfield. Now the interesting thing here is that Sandton is going to be very easily accessible through to the airport, through to the CBD, and also through to Pretoria. And this, what also is very important, at a later stage I'm going to show you, but Kelvin Manor is within walking distance of Marlborough Station. Now Marlborough Station is the most important station on this entire node, because it is the intersection between the Pretoria leg, the airport leg, and the Johannesburg CBD. You know, if you want to go from the airport to Sandton, you have to go through Marlborough. If you want to go from Sandton to Pretoria, you've got to go through Marlborough. This will be the intersection, and you need to understand how close this is. These two train stations here are 4 kilometers apart. The other thing in terms of Sandton, Gary Fromentain, who's the CEO of Lions Asset Management, says that new residential developments in Sandton is a fairly well-developed trend, but is behind the curve. We are of the belief that Sandton and the surrounds could comfortably supply a further 5,000 dwellings of various types in the next 3 years. But the very interesting thing with Sandton, according to the FNB Residential Index, is that the average price is 1.433 million. You know, that is an expensive property for the average man in the street. And it's very important to take into account that even though they say there's 5,000 dwellings, there's a far greater need for good, affordable accommodation less than the 750,000 mark. And as the FNB and the ABSA curve, you know, take into account what they call either affordable or medium density and medium priced accommodation, because the average price in Sandton, there's very little affordable accommodation, particularly for that, you know, emerging and working class person who's going to be working in and around this area. But you know, Sandton is not all about business, it's also about lifestyle. There's a number of shopping centers. You've got Sandton City, Nelson Mandela Square, they've got international boutiques, and they've also got local retail chains. There's a number of restaurants, clubs and bars. Do you know you can either sit with your work colleagues after work and have a fantastic meal, or you can club the night away. But the beauty is that it's one of the central points of the Johannesburg nightlife. Basically, there's never a dull moment for the sophisticated homeowner in and around Sandton. It very much is that cliche, but it's, you know, close to your place of work, it's close to your lifestyle, and then even you can enjoy playing in the nightclubs and the bars and the restaurants. But then when you look into account with regards to the property, very interestingly, if you go on to property 24, and I'm just going to show you here, get myself back on screen, you actually got what they call a property spy index. It's an excellent report. You can look at all the different areas and you can review them. I ran this last night for the last 3 months of what you're actually looking, and I took into account the whole area of Sandton and then specifically Sandton. There were 42 transactions which took place over the last 3 months, and that effectively was in all ranges right up to 100 million rand. Now, what were those numbers and what did they actually tell us? Most importantly, with regards to Sandton as an area, you've actually looked, and this was according to the ABSA index, the Gauteng area. Now granted, you must understand that they say that property is down by 3.5% across the whole country, but Gauteng is only down by 0.01% over the last year. Greater Johannesburg, or the actual metropolitan area, is actually up by plus 1.1%. And most importantly, the affordable accommodation, the smaller homes between 80 square meters to 140 square meters in Gauteng is actually up by 3.4% in Gauteng. In Greater Johannesburg, they're up by 5.9%. And in Johannesburg North, effectively the north of Joburg, which is Sandton, it's up by 12.5%. So, you know, it's very, very important to take into account that nationally properties come down, but you also need to look for areas that are doing better than the national trends. The FNB index also had some interesting information. The Highveld has been the strongest employment growth over the last decade, and because of that, the household growth has also been the strongest on the Highveld over the last decade. Something very important to take into account as both a homeowner and an investor, and understand the fundamentals of this area and why it's actually driving this economy. It's driving the employment, which ultimately brings more people to the area. It's better with regards to rental, and it's also better with regards to house growth. And to be fair, the numbers speak for themselves. In terms of the location, you know, Kelvin Manor and the area of Kelvin has a fantastic location. The Sandton CBD is 5.7 kilometers away. I've done it in my car, personally myself. There's a number of offices, as I've shown you, and economic in opportunity in around the Sandton area. You've got the shops, the bars, and the clubs on your doorstep. You've got access to the Johannesburg CBD and Pretoria. You're literally very close to the Buccleuch interchange. You've got easy access to the M1, the N1, and the N3. And as I said to you, you're in walking distance of the Marlborough station of the Gautrain. The important thing is, with regards to those roads, it can pretty much get you anywhere in Johannesburg. And then you're 20 minutes from the airport. And then literally just down the road, call it 1.5 kilometers, there's actually a shopping center with all the amenities you need. A Pick and Pay, a butchery, a bottle store, a video shop. And it's really, really nice. I was there last week. Pizza, you name it, it's there, right down to even a good old health spa. So, you know, that's within walking distance, and there's also a number of good schools and golf courses. And just over the other side of the M1 is that whole area of Woodmead with the macro and furniture stores. You really got so many facilities on your doorstep. When one looks at the map here, you can actually see in terms of where you're looking, there is actually the site of Kelvin Manor. This here is the M1 going through, which takes you straight through to the Johannesburg CBD. This here is the road that takes you through to Sandton. As I said to you, 5.7 kilometers. I've done it in my own car. And then this is the road that takes you back to the Marlborough off-ramp, the N3, which takes you up to the M1, and then you've got the Buccleuch interchange, which is here, that takes you through to Pretoria. And then interestingly enough, you've also got the Gautrain station here, Marlborough off-ramp. So it gives you a very good idea of the location and where it is, and you can see that it's very close and amenable to a number of different opportunities. And then when one looks at the price and quality, do you know the price that they're bringing these units to the market is 699,900 to 704,900. And you know the important thing is that's for a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. It comes fully inclusive with regards to all the costs, and also what's interesting is that it comes with 2 parking bays. Now that comes out at an average of 11,500 Rand a square meter. And you know, a lot of people have asked me with regards to cost comparisons of different areas, and as I tried to show you last night, I spent quite a long time, you know, working on Property 24 and their Property Spy. I did a full analysis of Sandton, and as I said to you, there were 42 transactions in the last 3 months. Now, basically, I did on sectional title, I did a review of those. The average price per square meter was 15,230 Rand a square meter, so that's 32% more than our asking price. And then there's a new development which is actually just transferred, and there's been a number of sales made in that, and the average price per square meter is 19,627. So that's another 71% more. So you know, one of the things that I've learned in property is that it's very important to buy in one of these secondary areas close to a primary area where you're buying off a low base. And let me just show you here quickly on the screen. You know, you've got a primary area here, you've got a secondary area here, and it's important that if you buy off a low base, you've got a far better opportunity for growth. And as I've shown you here in the Sandton, you've got this price per square meter, but the important thing is that this area over the last 12 months is still doing really, really well, and it's going to pull up all these residential areas. You've got the affordability that's important in this particular opportunity, and that price is so important with regards to those fundamentals that I've already spoken to you about with regards to South Africa, Gauteng, and Johannesburg. So the other thing that's important is with regards to the quality. MSP is one of the developers. They've got over 25 years experience with regards to development, and they're also part of Velapanda Holdings, which is Tokyo Sesquale's company. So they've got a tremendous amount of money behind them. The land has actually been built. The clubhouse is finished. The walls have all been built. They're actually starting with regards to the infrastructure and doing the earthworks. And I think it's really important to know the substance that's behind this development. And you know, if you come down the site, you can see it's all there. You know that it's taking place. The other development partner is Aquacore, and they've got their own in-house architects, Arthur Quinton, Darrell Cume. They're very well-renowned architects in South Africa, and by partnering with them, it brings access to a level of design and quality not normally seen in developments of this price category. And that's very, very important to take into account, both as a homeowner and as an investor. The fifth, and something that I think is so important is that in the current property market, you need to be taking advantage of the current market conditions. Now, basically, the price that this particular development was coming in at in 2008 was 850,000 Rand a square meter. In 2009, they're coming in at 699,900. That's a discount of 21.45%. And you ask how they did it. They went back to the builders. They beat them down on their prices. They went back to the landowner. They beat them down on their price. So that, because in the old days, a year or two ago, the developer would have just brought it to the market at 850 because they knew that the banks would have valued it at that price. They would have been able to sell it at that price. But now they know how important value is in the market. And so you're actually getting a 21.45% discount. Now, you know, even in real terms, the property price said that they've gone down by 10%. You buying a property with 21% growth, you know, 21% discount, you're buying in an area with good growth, and as I've shown you statistically in Sandton, and you know, they've had growth over the last 12 months in the region of around 12%, and most importantly, you're buying it off a very low base, 11,500 Rand a square meter in comparison to between 15 and 20,000 in that Sandton node, and that's not taking into account the exclusive apartments of the Michelangelos, etc. The fifth major reason I think that's very important to look at is the deposit. You know, you only have to secure this property, you only have to put in 15,000 Rand to actually buy and secure this property. You basically then, it will be transferring at the end of 2010, so 18 months now, you know, the market's going to recover at the beginning of next year, and you've got a nice long lead time to allow this property to actually be built and to transfer into your name. The developers also arranged 100% financing. Now that is on a individual by individual basis, but it is available. And you know, if you buy an existing property, that is just not available. You've got to put down at least a 10 to 15% deposit, plus you've got to pay costs. Whereas here, all the costs are included. There are no transfer fees. There are no bond registration costs. So if you put down your 15,000 Rand, in many instances, that's all you'll actually have to put into the deal. Now, what does that actually mean? If you take a property at 700,000 Rand and you take 5% growth over the next 18 months, now that's very, very small in terms of what we've been talking about, both on the fact, you know, of what the ABSA and FNB index were, but also what's happening in the Sandton node. You will make 35,000 Rand profit if you take the fact that you only put in 15,000 Rand into the deal. That's a 429% growth on your investment. And I think that's very, sorry, I think I've got the math slightly wrong there. It's not 429. It's, I need to change that. But it's, look, it's basically 15 over 35. So it's in the region of, it's well over 200%. And I would ask you where else you could get 200% in terms of, you know, an investment. The other thing with regards to your risk, there are definite ways to manage your risk. One of those is to buy in an area where there's good rental demand. And, you know, as I've shown you, there's tremendous demand in the Sandton area, particularly in this affordable range. And they believe that the rental yields are going to be, you know, over 9%. Those are the predictions that we're getting back from the management agents. But, you know, we are holding investment courses, which you can come down to site, and I can show you how to maximize your growth and minimize your risk. And then for me, the last, you know, major reason that you need to look at this is actually the development itself, Kelvin Manor. You know, there's a tremendous amount of facilities that come with the development. It comes with a clubhouse, a creche, a swimming pool, a gym, a multi-purpose tennis court, a running track. It's a gated community, you know, with it's got the most beautiful tranquility and environment. All the old trees are on site, and you know, even though unfortunately now we're in the middle of winter, you know, 2 months ago when I was there, it was magnificent. Green trees, flowers everywhere. It used to be an old, you know, old effectively farmhouse, a small holding, and it's got these nice views that look out over the Johannesburg skyline. It really is, I believe, one of the most fantastic attractions of this investment is actually the site itself and the real quiet lifestyle that one can experience on the site, and yet you're a mere doorstep from Sandton, a mere 5.7 kilometers from Sandton. Here you can just see, this is an architectural picture. You can see that it's basically the face brick and very much this tree, nice green tranquil environment that one can expect. And you can see that you're pretty much looking at 3-story walk-ups. This here is a picture of the clubhouse. This clubhouse is actually existing. You can see the old existing swimming pool, and this is where the creche, the gym, the clubhouse, and everything is going to be. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, I would highly recommend you come down and see it. The IPS team has been working on this for the last couple of weeks. It's got all the furniture in there now. It's fully finished, fully furnished, and it's looking magnificent. This here is an internal architectural of what the clubhouse will actually look like, what one can expect, and also the views looking out onto the Johannesburg skyline. And then this is just an artistic impression of the gym. But you know, I live in an aquacore development. I've got a fully functional gym, and it's fantastic to have a little gym, you know, that's got all the equipment. I don't need to pay gym membership. I don't need to worry about getting in my car. I can walk down and really enjoy the gym facilities. And then lastly, this is the SDP, or the site development plan. You can see here is the clubhouse, the swimming pool, the tennis court, and then you've basically got 6 blocks. You've got block A, block B, block C, block D, block E, and block F. This is the main entrance as to where you're coming in, and I think the important thing is that block A, B, C, and D are what we're launching now, and then block E and F are looking to be launched in the next 6 months or so with about a 10% price increase. So it just gives you an overview, and just to give you an idea, this is Sandton in this direction over here, and you can see there in terms of where north facing actually is. The other thing that's great is that you get top quality finish. Included in the price are granite tops, there's an oven, hob, and extractor. And let's take a look at some of the pictures. Here you can see an artistic impression looking out across the apartment and out towards the views. And then this is looking back towards the kitchen. You can see the granite tops there, and there's different unique finishes. It's very, very seldom in this type of affordable range that you get this type of choice with regards to finishes. But the great thing is that there's 3 different types. Here you've got urban cool, and you can see all the different really sort of cool, funky feel to it. Then you've effectively got the city chic, which is a different design. And then you've got the inner city ease. And you know, the great thing for particularly first-time homeowners and for investors is that every unit is not stock standard. You can make it the feel and the look that you really want. And that just, you know, this top quality finish is something that's so important for an investor and for a home buyer to take into account. Lastly, this just gives you an idea of the layout of the unit. You can see here, this is your main entrance. You're coming through here into your kitchen. There's actually a position for a washer dryer as well as a dishwasher. You've got the oven hob and extractor, and then you've also got the open plan sort of dining area with the kitchen open plan onto the living area. Here you've got your living area and effectively out with the Juliet. The ground floor go out onto a balcony, and then there's the first and second floor out onto Juliet. So beautiful big windows that can take advantage of the view and to look out. Here you've got your main bedroom. You can see it comes with full cupboards. You've also got your main bathroom. It's got a shower as well as a bath, and then obviously a toilet and a basin. And then here you've got your second bedroom, also with built-in cupboards. So I think that's great, you know, in terms of the design, the look and the feel. And then lastly, just for those investors, we've got things back from Etchells & Young, our preferred management agent, and they believe that depending on the unit and the views, you'll be looking at between 5,000 to 5,500 rental per month, and that is a yield of over 9%, and it's very seldom nowadays that you're getting yields, and that is actually based on current projections of what's actually happening in the market at the moment. Okay, so let's just look here. Basically, I want to then bring you to the last thing, which is education. Now, I got an article today which actually came from Ian Fife, and it was a very long article, and I'm not going to go through it all. But basically, Ian Fife went on to say that in the current market, there's only one thing that you can be sure of. And I met him literally last Thursday for breakfast, and he said exactly the same thing to me. He's the editor of the property section of the Financial Mail, and he said that basically the only thing we can be sure of is that we're going to have uncertainty. And he went on to say in this article, how do we deal with this uncertainty? And his belief is that the only way to deal with it is through knowledge, by concentrating on the actual realities of the market that we are operating in. He says that we can get completely confused by the indexes saying that property is going up, that property is going down, that there's a whole lot of different indices in South Africa, and so one says it's going up and the other one says it's going down. He says the most important thing is that a transaction is concrete and specific, and it's actually why I worked off the Property Spy indexes to give you the actual property prices that have taken place in the last 3 months. He says if you know how property actually works, you will know that it remains the biggest store of wealth in the world for ordinary people. I'm going to repeat that. It's the biggest store of wealth in the world for ordinary people. That is why, and because it remains the most predictable and conservative asset class, and it is more often than not a home too. Ian Fife goes on to say that because of this, and because of that complete and utter necessity for knowledge, he is going to continue trying to get as much knowledge as he can, and he's going to be very active in the property market in the coming months because of the huge opportunities that exist. And I think, you know, when one looks at it, IPS is going to be offering free education events, and it's really to try and provide people with that knowledge that Ian Fife is talking about. We understand how critically important that knowledge actually is. And you know, people say to me, why are we doing it for free? We believe in the premise of what Zig Ziglar said. You can have anything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. So we'll be holding 2 different courses continually from site and over the internet. The first one is how to buy a home. So this is for the beginner. It's for someone who wants to understand the process and how you actually buy a home. And basically the nuts and bolts of it is we will help someone take them through the entire process. So you need to make a decision, You need to come up with a strategy. You need to find a property. You need to finance it, get money from the bank. You need to purchase that property, and then you need to manage it, either as someone who's living in the property or as an investor. And certainly from an IPS perspective, we can help you right through that process. We partner with the client and the other strategic partners and make sure that it takes place. So come down to site on Saturday and learn about the entire process. You would pay thousands of rand for this information, but we'll teach you for free. Then how to become a property investor. This is a more advanced course. Basically, we're going to focus on maximizing your growth. So, even in these current downturn or tricky and troubling economic conditions, there's massive opportunity, and you can learn how to maximize your growth. We can teach you how to minimize your risk. We can teach you different strategies. We can look at different structures. We can look at tax. We can look at different ways of managing your unit. We can even look at the differences between the residential and commercial market. So again, come down. Courses like this cost thousands of rand, but we'll give it to you for free. And most importantly, you can come to the site of Kelvin Manor. You can learn this information. You can get that knowledge, and you can also see why I think Kelvin Manor is such a great opportunity when you're actually on that site. So in conclusion, I want to give you two little statements. Do you know that 49% of the world's wealth is held in property? Do you know that even through the Great Depression, Second World War, and even now the global credit crunch, many things have taken place, and the stock market continues to go up and down. But those studious and wise investors continue to invest their money in property. And the second saying that I think is so important is from Jim Rohn, and it says, to become financially independent, you must turn part of your income into capital, turn capital into enterprise, turn enterprise into profit, and turn profit into investment. If you turn investment, you'll turn it into financial independence. And basically, ladies and gentlemen, from my personal perspective, the sooner you get into property, the better. It's one of the best investment plans you can do. I bought my first house when I was 22 years old, and I think it's so important. And it's summed up by Van Gogh's statement: whatever you do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has the genius, power, and magic. Begin it now. And a lot of people said to me, you're absolutely mad. I was 22 years old when I bought that house. I've never looked back. Property has enabled me not only to set up a business, but to live comfortably. And also, interestingly enough, property has really helped me to get through this economic situation. So, I'd really advise you to look at this investment opportunity, to come down, to get the knowledge. And because if you do, you can take advantage of it. So in conclusion, I want to leave you with the last page basically, and basically what we're looking at. What do you do next? Come down to the launch. Johannesburg, Thursday afternoon, 2 p.m. We'll be launching Kelvin Manor from site. All the details are on our website, ipsinvest.com. Let me just send that. I know that it's always helpful if you can just click on it. So I'm sending that out to all of you. And basically all the details are there from 2 p.m. We'll be doing a presentation at 3 p.m. and at 6 p.m. And then on Saturday, we'll actually be offering courses on site, the how to buy a home, the how to be a property investor, and we'll also be doing it again on Sunday, and all those details are on site. If you live in Cape Town, there'll be a launch also in Cape Town. It looks like it's going to be in the morning in Cape Town, and again in London. You can be helped. I'd highly recommend you going and following us on Twitter. Basically, as you're well aware, and certainly with regards to South Africans, they are learning. Twitter is certainly one of the most fantastic things which is coming out in terms of invention. I'm not interested in telling you what I had for breakfast, but I am interested in keeping you up to date with what's happening. And then lastly, and I didn't put it up there, but I meant to, ipsinvest.blogspot.com. That is our blog. Tremendous amount of information. All these articles that I've been reading today, I'm going to put them up on our blog so you've got access and you can read them. And then finally, in conclusion, go to our website and you can learn how you can actually win 2 tickets to the 2010 Final World Cup. I think it's going to be one of the greatest spectacles. I'm going to be one of the proudest moments in South African history, and we would like you, 2 of our clients, to join us at that final. So ladies and gentlemen, that for me is conclusion. Hopefully tonight we've looked at the economics of the world, the global economy and what's happening. We've looked at South Africa. We've looked at Sandton and the opportunities within Sandton. We've looked at the Kelvin area and why Kelvin Manor is so well situated. We've looked at the price and the importance of that price. We've looked at the financing and also the deposit. And then finally, we've looked at the development of a whole, and most importantly, the tranquility of the development, yet the very close vicinity to Sandton. So on that note, I'm going to leave you. I want to see if there's any questions. I know my business partner, Brad, has been helping out with regards to questions. I can see there. Right, we've got, let me just check here quickly. Okay. Regarding the location of the development is part of a gated community and has its own security. Is there additional security in the gated security guards vehicles? Just to okay, basically with regards to Yasmin, thank you very much, Yasin, sorry, for the question. Basically, the great thing with Kelvin Manor is that it's actually a gated community within a gated community. So the Kelvin precinct is a fully gated community with a boom and 24-hour manned guards. And then you actually come to the Kelvin Manor development, which again is a gated community with security, electric fences, cameras, etc., etc. So from a security point of view, it is a very secure environment, and effectively you've got two boundaries. The other thing that's nice is that you've got residential developments or residential houses which are on three sides of the development. So it really provides you with great protection in terms of security. Is there any other questions I can see from anyone? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's just get a little bit of interactivity going here. I want to ask basically, do you understand the opportunity of Kelvin Manor? So I'm going to launch a poll here and let me know what you think. You know, did we answer your question tonight? Is it something that you should be looking at? No, it's not. Keen, you need more information? You know, let me know. What is it that you're thinking of? Okay, we're just waiting for a couple more people to put through their votes. Okay, still got a couple more, but I think we got enough. Basically, you'll see here from the poll, we've got about a 2/3 saying yes, they understand the opportunity, and 33% are keen but need some more information. For those that need more information, please go to our website. I did actually forgot to mention. On there's a video I made, a little 9-minute video on the development. You can see from me on site and everything, and that's on YouTube. If you just search for Scott Picken Kelvin Manor on YouTube, or go to our website and you'll actually see it. So let me just close that poll and share the results so that you can all see. You can see there the breakdown. Quite a few people have the information. Hopefully we'll see you at the launch so that you can take advantage of it. And the rest of you, please contact us. We can help you. Come down to site, deal with one of the IPS professionals who can take you through the opportunity, and we'll be able to help you basically. And then finally, let's finish off. Basically, I'd be interested who will be attending the launch. So let's just see here quickly who will be attending the launch. Either the one in Johannesburg, the one in Cape Town, or the one in London. Can see there that the numbers are coming through. Quite a few people. I'm hopefully going to meet quite a few of you in person on Thursday, it looks like, or either Saturday or Sunday. Okay, there's just a couple more people voting. I can see them coming through here. Okay, fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. Well, listen, we want to thank you very much for your time. I'm going to close that poll off. You can see that the majority of people will actually be attending, 64%, so you can see the results there. And for those of you that aren't attending, please do contact one of our team if there's any further information that we can help you with. I see there's a couple more questions come through here. Oh, geez, there's a whole bunch. Right, let's just look here. Okay, just in terms of Yashmin, hopefully we've answered your question in terms of the guards, and the guards are actually within the Kelvin area, are constantly on patrol. What is the anticipated levy amount? You're looking at 497 Rand a month. I have to leave now, but I'll contact Kennedy. Okay. What is the monthly service cost? Hopefully we've answered that. It's $497. Construction will be beginning imminently, and it's due to be complete at the end of next year. Any other costs I should be aware of? There aren't actually. As I said to you, all the costs are included, so that price is fully inclusive. The two prices, those prices, $699, $900, are for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and the 704 are also 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. There's just a difference in terms of positioning. The ones on the outside with the windows along the side are 704, and the ones internally are $699. This is not one of those sales pitches starting from $699. All the units are within that price range, basically. In terms of the views, Gavin, look, it very much depends on where you are actually buying. There'll be views out over the suburbs of Kelvin. There'll be views out towards Sandton, and there'll be also views out towards the northern skyline, in terms of what you're looking at. I personally have been on site, and you're actually, from site, from ground level, you can look out through the trees and see the views and basically what one's looking at. But one needs to be careful where one's choosing to make sure another unit is not blocking you. Rian, the launch is on Thursday. You're 100% right. The launch is in Johannesburg, Cape Town, and London on Thursday, and then there'll be an open day on the Saturday and the Sunday on site. Gavin, with regards to the particular units that will be looking out towards the development, the swimming pool, etc., can I suggest you get hold of one of the professional team, and they can take you through and actually show you, based on the SDP, the site development plan, which one's available, basically. Belay, you asked me here, are all the properties the same size in terms of square meterage? They are. The only difference is that the ground floor units actually get the patio out as well, basically. Sorry, and then all properties need to go see on Saturday. Details of the course on your website. Else Barrington, thanks very much. Thanks for attending. And yes, all the details of the courses are on the website in terms of where they are on Saturday. And then, can you give us an indication of council rates and taxes per month? Gavin, it's a good question. It is quite difficult to do that because it's only when they actually do the levy clearance that one looks at. Basically, I've been in property a long time, and I work on 1% of the purchase price for the total rates and levies for the property. So you're looking in the region of around 700 Rand a month. Currently, as I said to you, about 400 of that is going towards, the insurance and the body corporate, the landscaping, the security, etc., and the rest would then go with regards to the details. But we would have to find that out for sure. It's impossible to find out now until those clearance certificates come through, but those is what I would normally work out. Okay. Excellent. Well, listen, Gavin, thanks very much for your time, and let me know what how you want to get hold of me, guys. Just so that everyone is aware, I'm just going to send out a detail here: 011-463-0588. That is the Johannesburg number, the London number 971-3245, and the Cape Town number. Hang on 2 seconds. I'm just finding it here. I'll give you. Cape Town, there it is, 021, sorry I don't know it off by heart, 021-421-2816. So just to confirm all those numbers, Cape Town 021-421-2816, London 028-971-3245, and then lastly, I'm going to send you will get an email now. It's basically going to be a follow-up. If there's anything that we can improve on, please let us know. We're always trying to improve these particular events. If there's any information we left out, if there's anything else I can do, I really do look forward to hearing from you. So if there's no further questions, I really want to, help you guys. Let me know if there's anything else. As I said to you, the full team is available. My team, Tembi, Brad, my business partner, Kennedy, Dylan based in Cape Town, and Eric based in London. We can help you with the entire process. Get hold of us. We can take you through the process. If nothing else, I can't see you all here tonight, but I do want to end off. It's become, pretty common practice for me. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very proud to be South African. This is a fantastic opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity in South Africa within the economy. Yes, we're in tough times, but you need to look through that, understand the fundamentals, and understand where the opportunities are coming. So without further ado, I'm going to leave you for the evening. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to helping you in the future. Thank you, and good night.